Alright, we're back, and it is 12 December. Just going to keep rolling along here. It's so strange. Every time I think I found something new, I find 10 other things new that I need to go over. So, we've gone down this rabbit hole, and it's probably going to be a while before we get out of this, Wesley Frazier rifle and evidence and fingerprints rabbit hole, and we'll get back onto the timeline. But it's okay, because all this stuff is relevant. Eventually I'm going to have to discuss it. Now I might as well discuss it, making a link to it while it's relevant. Another thing I'm going to do also is I'm going to start Googling connections of all the witnesses and all the people I go over. So if I mention someone, I read their statement, I'm going to go back and Google all of them about their connections to like the CIA, the FBI, the Cubans, General Walker, the John Birch Society, the intelligence community, law enforcement, military, mafia, Big Oil, H.L. Hunt, and Jack Ruby. I'm also going to get a little biography on them, because a lot of people don't know, and I've just heard it. I haven't read that much about it or what he did or whatever. But Wesley Frazier, maybe 2 years after working at the school book depository, went in the military and was in the military quite a long time, maybe 15, 20 years. I think he even retired from the military. And it's my understanding that he was in Vietnam. So, I don't know what he did. It's going to be interesting to find out. I'm going to work on that as soon as we finish this video. And then I want to find out his connections either then or later with all these other groups. And we're going to do this with every single witness. I don't think anyone's ever really done this. They may have done a cursory one, but not every single witness, every single statement. And then you can find the motivations behind certain people and why they say certain things. But anyway, so we're going to get back into this video here. Also, another thing I want to do is apologize for the sound quality is not that great on my recording device, my computer. I've got a 7-year-old computer, and I've got a great headset and microphone. I've reset everything and pumped it up for the computer settings, but I think it's the USB is just worn out, and I've tried different USBs. I've tried little add-on USBs, and I've gone to computer shops to see if they can repair the USBs, but they say it would cost more, almost as much as a new computer, to replace the USBs and the motherboard. So I'm just saving up now for a new computer, and then the quality will be better. Until then, I've been looking online for free software that can go in and clear out the background noise and make it a little clearer. But you understand what I'm saying. It's just a little agitating, especially when I'm not speaking. You hear this noise that the microphone is picking up, and I've adjusted, and I've gone in, and believe me, I've spent hours test, recording, resetting settings, and it doesn't really seem to do any good. The computer shop says it's the USB connection. Anyway, so we'll keep driving on. Gremlins or no gremlins, facts are facts, and it doesn't matter what the technical aspects of my computer are. I'm still going to go over those things. But anyway, let's get back into Wesley Frazier's interesting little interview here. And he's going to say some things that he never has said before, or I've never heard before, at least in his early statements. So be ready to be shocked.
A textbook, and I think a lot of schools nowadays, they don't even let the children bring textbooks home now. Everything's done on the computer. Well, back then, if you'd open a book and read on the inside of the front cover, it's stamped State of Texas. That was a state book. And all states have them, it was Arkansas or whatever. And they did ship, to answer your question, yes, they did ship those textbooks primarily to the schools in the state of Texas. Yes, they did.
But you parked your car behind the state building, you told me, right over here, and then walked across railroad tracks to get to the depository here at the corner of Elm and Houston. Now that day, Lee got out of the car and you stayed in the car for a moment to rev your engine a little bit. Tell us about that.
I did. We got there, and I looked at my watch, and I knew how long it took me to walk up to the building and hang my coat up and be ready to go to work at 8 o'clock. And so back then the cars had a generator on them, and then they had a voltage regulator on them. For ones of you old enough, the voltage regulator used to be the little black box that sits for a lot of time where your power steering is now in cars. And your battery could be hot, but the points and the voltage regulator would stick and pull all the juice out of your battery. And so when you tried to start it, you had a dead battery. And
that had happened to you a couple times, right?
Yes, it did. And so I was doing that, and Lee got out while I was revving the engine a little bit, and he stood there for a minute, and then he got the package out of the back seat and he walked on ahead of me. In the past, we always walked together, but this particular morning, he walked ahead of me, and I never did catch up with him because, as I said, there used to be a huge railway shipping yard here where they put trains together and they take off trains, and as a little boy I was always fascinated with trains, so I walked pretty briskly, but you just would wonder I hadn't fallen sometimes because I was so busy watching in the tracks and everything, but I didn't.
How was he carrying the package?
He was carrying the package. One end was under his armpit, and then the other was cupped in his hands. And
now, just a reminder, my earlier video, we measured from the upper part, even above the upper part of Lee Oswald's armpit, down to where his fingers were extended, okay? And that was from that police photo from New Orleans where he was standing there at attention, a Marine attention sense, and he had his arms, to his side, stretched down. They weren't arced or anything like that. And we measured it, and it was exactly 2 feet. Exactly what Wesley Frazier said the length of the package was, 2 feet. And then we also measured, the rifle from the stock, the end of the stock to the entire wooden stock without the barrel, and that was something like, I think I have it written down here, 31 inches or so, if I remember correctly, 31.1 inches, and then 31.1 inches. We measured that, okay, and then we measured the length of the bag that the FBI was presenting in their photo with the Warren Commission, and that came out to be 35.9 inches. So, 24 inches, 35.9 inches can't fit into, we'll put it this way, 31.1 inches of just the wooden stock would fit in to the 35.9 inches of this paper bag that the FBI and the Warren Commission are presenting, are the one that was found in the school book depository. That would fit. But the 35.9 inches would not fit under Lee's arm in that 24-inch space from the underarm pit down to the tips of his fingers. And you're going to have to take off a little bit, half an inch, for him curling his fingers to hold the package. So, Wesley Frazier's telling you what he saw, and it was exactly 2 feet, just like he said. The package was in the back of the, of his car. And don't you think maybe in the after of all of this that's been going on the last 50 years, that especially the first year or so, Wesley Frazier might have gone in and measured that where he saw that package, and that's where he came up with the 2 feet? Don't you think maybe he would have done that? That makes kind of sense, doesn't it? Like, maybe it was longer than 2 feet. Maybe I'm just underestimating it. And then he would go back and, because a lot of seats still have these lines in them where the stitching goes through the leather, or the stitching goes through the fabric and connects to the, usually there's like a foam or something underneath there. And so you can count lines. And if you know where the package was at, you can literally measure it by the lines. You get a good approximation. So I'm sure Wesley Frazier is not as stupid as he sounds, and probably did that and did measure it. And then, realized, yeah, it was 2 feet. And this is what he says here, that there's no way that package fit underneath Oswald's arm. So it's all in the science. It's not in the wishing, okay? It's not in the, we say this because we're the government and this is the way it is, and, we would never lie to you and you should trust us because we're the government. It's in the facts and the evidence, okay? The mathematics says that, boom, the rifle broken down was 31.1 inches. Boom, the package was 35.9 inches. The rifle would fit in that package that the government presented. But we have no picture of the package inside the 6th floor in that corner, like they say. They did a little dot. Oh, you're supposed to imagine that it's there. Okay? Just trust us. We say it's there, and so it must have been there. Okay? And then, again, Wesley Frazier's looking at these package under Lee's arm, and it's only 2 feet. And then the obvious question that the lone nutters come out, well, if it wasn't curtain rods, because curtain rods weren't, well, if it was curtain rods, where's the curtain rods in the school book depository? They didn't find any curtain rods. Well, okay, not to sound crazy or anything, but if you're going to plant a weapon and you're going to plant the bag that you say Oswald brought the weapon in, and Oswald said it was curtain rods, he told Wesley Frazier and the police, don't you think that they would take the curtain rods? I mean, call me crazy, but if you're going to frame someone for a crime and make him a patsy, don't you think they would take the evidence? I mean, they could have told Oswald, here, we're going to have a package at your wife's house. It's going to be curtain rods. Pick that up, bring that to work, and then take it home. Or we're just going to have a package. And then you're to tell everybody it's curtain rods. But inside of it's going to be your next assignment material. Okay? They could have told him anything. And Oswald, still being a soldier, is following orders, keeping his ears open and his mouth shut, listening for any subversives inside the Texas School Book Depository. So Oswald said it's curtain rods. Doesn't mean it was curtain rods. It could have been anything. It could have been cotton wadding. It could have been, yardsticks. Who knows? Maybe even Oswald didn't even know it was in the packaging. He was just told this was what people that, this is what you need to tell people. Anyway, we'll move on.
I know it's been said that Lee brought the rifle to work with him that morning. There's no way he could have had the rifle in that package. Because if you had one of these Italian rifles and you took the barrel off the wooden stock, neither one would fit in that package. And I've said his package was around 2 feet long, give or take an inch or two. There's no way it would fit in there. Now, the question is,
there he is.
How did the rifle get there? I don't know. But he didn't bring it that day.
We're going to come back and talk about that package later on when we talk about your testimony to the Warren Commission. But let's get on through the day of the assassination. Now, did you see Oswald any other times that day before lunch?
Yes, I did. I saw Lee. I did see Lee several times that morning, off and on. He was working. But I didn't know the time or the particular place I did see him. But I did see him several times.
It's interesting that in his affidavit, and this could just be Wesley Frazier trying to cover his ass, He says the last time he saw Oswald that whole day, okay, was when Oswald was walking in with the package, and he didn't see Oswald again after that. Now, that's bullshit, of course, because, you know, Lee's running around with the clipboard trying to find these boxes in these books. So, even Wesley Frazier is saying he's coming to him, asking him where these things are at. Even after a month and a half, they're still going to be asking questions. And they also were all upstairs on the 6th floor tearing up that floor. Okay? So, he's going to see him up there. Anyway, keep going.
And we were just going about business, filling orders. Now, once we got to work, there's one man that I worked with. His name was Junior Jarman. He always purchased a newspaper on the way to work. And wasn't too long after we got to work that morning, the big buzz was on. They had printed, at that time we had 2 papers in Dallas. It was a Dallas Morning News and the Dallas Times Herald. Well, the Dallas Times Herald is no longer, but the Morning News is still here. But they had published a proposed route of the presidential parade. They did that a day or 2 before, I think, as well as that day. Well, Junior asked me when I was over picking some orders out of one of the boxes I was going to fill the orders, that publisher, he asked me, he says, are we going to get to go out and watch the parade? And I said, well, I don't know, Junior. He says, a lot of guys are talking about it. I said, yeah, I've been hearing people talk. And I said, I'll tell you what, I said, I'll just go ask Mr. Shelley. And I did that. And wasn't too long after I asked Mr. Shelley. When I asked him, he says, I don't know, I'll have to check with Mr. Truly. Well, Mr. Truly had to go to see Mr. Kaysen, which was up on the 2nd floor. And, well, I guess it's probably, I don't know exactly how long the time was, span was. But anyway, I was somewhere in the building filling orders, and I walked by Mr. Shelley, and he says, by the way, he said, you can tell everybody that we're going to stop, and we're going to get to go out and watch the parade when it comes by today. And that just...
And there you go. So, Oswald has been told to stay in the building, no matter what happens. I'm just guessing. Because everyone else goes out to watch the parade like it's an official company thing. So that gets everyone out of the building. And that's essential because if you have the fire team on the 6th floor, they've got to get out of the building without anyone seeing them. Okay? So it's essential to get all the employees out of the building to the front of the building so the fire team can escape down the back stairwell and out to a waiting van or cars. And so that makes perfect sense right there, what he's saying. Alright, keep going.
Everybody was so happy about that because you stop and think about it. In your ordinary life today, how many have you had the opportunity to go out and see a presidential parade regardless of what reason they're in your city or the area you're in? How many? It doesn't happen very often. Not for people that work, what I call common working people who work for a paycheck. It just doesn't happen. And
the picture we're looking at right here was taken by a bystander named Phil Willis, and you can see the motorcade making that turn from Houston to Elm, and back here in the background is the Texas School Book Depository. You were standing at the top of the stairs in the main little entryway underneath the big metal sign that said Texas School Book Depository. Tell us what you observed during those moments.
Okay. What I've come to realize all these years is that where I was standing on the top steps, you cannot see me on the picture, that one that shows Billy Lovelady standing like he's holding up the building. But I was standing at the top of the stairs in the shade. I realized one day that I had the best seat in the house, because the presidential parade, when it made his turn off of Houston onto Elm there, it's a pretty sharp turn there, and so the limousine had to slow down. And I said to myself, the pictures of John Kennedy and Jackie that I had seen in Life magazines and things, I said, the photography of those photographers is exceptional. Because I could relate looking at the pictures, at them present, to the pictures I'd seen in magazines. And it was something that I will never forget. As a matter of fact, I was down here in Dealey Plaza not too long ago, and I had a young man with me, and I asked him, I said, I want to show you something. So we walked up the front of the steps here, and I said, I want you to stand right here. And I said, now you visualize the presidential parade, and you're standing right there. I said, what do you think about that view? And he thought it was priceless. I don't have any pictures that I can show you, but I have pictures in my mind, and it was, and I realized, but I didn't realize how great it was until some years later. That what a wonderful opportunity.
How many shots did you hear?
I heard 3. And in that presidential parade, it was being led by, and there was motorcycle policemen. And these motorcycle policemen were cutting their motorcycles on and off. If you know anything or you ride motorcycles, you know you can do that and it'll make a backfire. Well, they were very close to getting on to Stedman's to go out to where the president was going to speak. And so when the first shot occurred, I thought it was just a motorcycle backfire. But then it wasn't long after that, there was 2, and the 2 was closer in succession than between the first and second. And then I realized that wasn't motorcycle backfire. It was somebody shooting a weapon. And it was down here in Dealey Plaza. It was total chaos.
Alright, so we'll stop there. Just a reminder, in my other videos we kind of went over that when you're doing an ambush, and you're going to want to make a distraction to get everybody looking away from where your intended target is, okay? Alright, so here we go. So, if you're going to do something like this, I went over this before, you make a loud noise up this way, behind and to the right of the limousine, presidential limousine. Okay, this gets everybody looking back that way. And see? You've got people looking back that way. At the same time, the grassy knoll shooter, using his silencer, is going to shoot and hit the president in the throat. Okay? And this is what's happening here. You see the president starting to grab his neck. Jackie is holding his arm up to figure out what's going on. You've got, one of the Secret Service agents is now looking at the president. Then you've got the motorcycle cops. They're seeing something also. See this guy here? He's looking at the president. Up here you've got Billy Lovelady. You've got Wesley Frazier behind him, and then other people. Okay. So this is what they're seeing. This is, I don't know if these 2 shots were at the same time, but that's what's going on. And this is what he's talking about. Alright, we'll keep going.
People was running and screaming and falling down and hollering. You didn't know what was going on. And
did you get a sense from where you were standing at the top of the steps where those shots were coming from?
Well, The first one, from the way I was standing back on top of the step, it sounded like it come to my right, down where the motorcade was. But then the second and third sounded closer, much closer. And I know if you out here with the acoustics of the buildings the way they're around, the sound bouncing off one building onto the other might give you the impression that there were more shots fired than there were.
And so, again, just to look at Dealey Plaza, so that's another reason why this kill zone was picked. All this concrete, all these buildings, the bridges, the buildings here, and then these trees are absorbing sounds. So it's another perfect reason to pick this area for the assassination. Alright, so again, he's right here at the entrance. He's hearing a shot come down from here and then two more above him. Okay? So that's what you're going to do. You know, I'm very certain Oswald wasn't up in the 6th floor, but you might have a guy in the 6th floor who's not even really aiming. He's just firing in the general direction just to cause noise, while the shooters in the grassy knoll and the Dowtex building are firing at the president with their, you know, muffled silenced rifles. That would be perfect, because then everyone's confused, everyone's looking up this way, and shots are coming in all over the place. Even Clint Hill, excuse me, not Clint Hill, but one of the Secret Service agents, right in front of Johnson, was saying that bullets were coming into the limousine like a swarm of bees. Okay, and 3 bullets don't make a swarm, and especially when one of the bullets hits over here on the curb. So you got 2 bullets, can't make a swarm. Okay. All right, we'll keep going.
In the chaos that followed the shooting, did you see Oswald at all?
I did.
All right, before he says that, because he's going to say he sees Oswald come out, let's remember about this Dealey Plaza, UK. I love these guys, but they have this ridiculous, unprovable idea that Oswald was in the doorway, right behind Wesley Frazier. Okay, so Wesley Frazier is standing behind Billy Lovelady. There's a partition of glass there. We measured it. There's not enough room. There's maybe enough room for 3 bodies going back. So what they did at Dealey Plaza, UK, and I mean at you know, Prayer Man, I guess they call him, and they do great work, and they could be right, but I can't see how. Is that if Buell Wesley Frazier is right here, okay, and you hear him talking about Oswald. He likes Oswald. Oswald, you know, was a quiet guy. He almost sounds like he is regretting that he even had to, you know, he's almost taking it back that he told about the package, okay, that helped them convict Oswald or go after Oswald, saying he brought the rifle in. You can hear the regret there. So he liked Oswald. So don't you think if he had any chance of redeeming Oswald and saying that Oswald couldn't have been in that 6th floor window, you know, his next statements here would be, yeah, I saw Oswald, and he wasn't in that 6th floor window because he was standing behind me, or beside me, or to the right of me. He knew Billy Lovelady, he knew all the other people around him, but he's going to sell out Oswald for 50, 60 years? Come on. Oswald was in the 2nd floor lunchroom where he was seen drinking a Coke, just like all the other witnesses have said. So Prayer Man is a distraction. You know, I know they go through a list of employees and they've eliminated all of them and they come up with only one left, which is Oswald. But if you think about it, you know, that's not all the employees, because there were people, other employees that were still in the building that weren't outside. Okay? There was, Virginia Davis that came down the stairs, and there was another girl with her, and then there were other people that were inside on the phone and observed the power and the electricity go out, so they weren't standing outside. And there's nothing to say that, you know, the delivery man, the DHL, the FedEx guy, the postman, wasn't coming up into the building there at that time and decided, oh, here's the president. Oh, well, okay, I better turn around and watch. You know, or somebody's buddy came down, hey, come down and you can stand on the steps with me and we can see the president go by. So, it's pretty poor detective work to use all the employees and eliminate them and then say the only ones left is Oswald. That it sounds good, but it's not reasonable. Okay, especially when you have statements of, you know, several people, 2 people at least, saw Oswald on the second floor lunchroom drinking a Coke. Another lady, you know, the policeman saw him, confront him on the second floor with a Coke in his hand, and then another lady said she saw him walk out the door, or walk past her with a Coke in his hand right after that. So how can he be on the second floor and be on the front steps? Or how can he be on the front steps and be on the second floor? You can't be at 2 places at once. And it definitely can't be. I know what they're trying to say is that Oswald wasn't in the 6th floor. Well, there's enough evidence to show he's on the 2nd floor. Okay? Alright, so we'll keep going.
This was all, I don't know exactly how many minutes later, but the lady I was standing next to, some of the people, Bill Shelley and Mr. Billy Lovelady, they went down toward the triple underpass, because before they went down there, a lady come by, a woman came by, and she was crying, and she said, somebody has shot the president. And so we looked bewildered. And I turned to Sarah, and she said somebody shot the president. I said, I thought that's what she said. She said she did say that. So we stood there for a few minutes, and I walked down to the first step where Billy was standing down there at the bottom of the steps. And I looked around, and it was just total chaos there. And then from there I started to go down to see if I could find Bill Shelley and Billy Lovelady. And it was so much chaos down there, I said, well, I better go back to the steps. And I did. I walked back to the bottom of the steps. And then I walked out.
And again, so if he walks to the bottom of the steps, okay, and Oswald's at the top of the steps, don't you think he's going to say to Oswald, hey, somebody just said the president got shot. Can you believe that, Oswald? Oh my God, that's horrible. Don't you think he would have noticed Oswald at the top of the steps? What, does Oswald just turn around and run back inside and run up to the 2nd floor and grab his Coke? Because within a couple of seconds of what he's talking about right here, okay, the motorcycle cop comes the motorcycle cop comes running in to the same area, okay? So don't you think he would have noticed Oswald?
To the corner of the building right there where Houston comes up beside the building. And I was talking to someone who's a lady, and I looked to my left and come walking along the side of the Texas School Book building was Lee Oswald.
Walking along this side of the building.
Yes.
Houston Street.
Yes, Houston Street. So he'd come around from off the dock there.
All right. So that is the shocker right there. He has never said that. I haven't read anything in his statements to the sheriff, to the Warren Commission, to the FBI, or to the Garrison trial, the Shaw trial. So this is the first time. It took him 50 years to tell them this. Okay? And this conflicts with what other people say. Now let me show you what he's talking about. Alright, so here we go. So this is the front door where the steps he was standing. He went down and then went back to the steps. No Oswald there. Okay, don't you think if he mentions he just saw Oswald, he would have mentioned that he saw Oswald standing on the top of the stairs? But no. And then he goes over to the corner of Houston and Elm, right here. And he says he sees Oswald coming up this way. And then Oswald gets here, crosses, and then goes that way, and that's the way he goes to Ackerd. Now, what he's saying is that Oswald came out the back door here, okay, because that's where the stairs would lead, and then they have these dock doors there, and I'll show you that. Hold on one second. Alright, here we go. So, this is the second floor. And so there's been a little bit of confusion about which way Officer Baker went when he found Truly. Did they go here and go up logically up these steps? Come from the first floor to this corridor and up to here and confront Oswald in the break room here? Or did Truly drag him across the warehouse floor on the first floor to the steps there, and then when he's going up the stairs, he sees a figure through the door, walking away from the door, and then he decides to stop following Truly and go after this person here, and confronts Oswald with a gun in the break room, walking away from the door. So there's been some confusion on which way that happened, but either way, Oswald's on the second floor. So the reason why Wesley Frazier didn't see Officer Baker go in, because he had stepped away from the stairs, he's over from the front steps, he's over here. Officer Baker in the videos is seen running this way, gets Truly, they go upstairs either way and confront Oswald. After that, Baker disappears. You think they would go back to the stairs and go all the way to the 6th floor, but nobody gets to the 6th floor, okay, for another 15-20 minutes for some odd reason. Okay? I haven't been able to figure that out. But basically what Wesley is saying is that he didn't know this, but Oswald would be here, would be confronted, okay, by Officer Baker, and then Officer Baker leaves. Truly says, oh, the president's been shot. So then Oswald realizes something has gone wrong. And then Oswald would have gone, if he's following Wesley Frazier's testimony, would have gone down these back steps, okay, down to the first floor, which would have been here. He would have come out here. Let's see if we can make this a little bigger here. He would have come out right here and gone out this back dock, down onto the dock, down the stairs, come up Houston here where Wesley Frazier saw him. The only problem I have with that is, well, there's several problems, okay, is that Oswald's jacket is right here in the domino room. Why wouldn't he go get his jacket and then go down the street? Doesn't make any sense. Also, there was another lady who saw Oswald carrying a Coke, went down the stairs on the first floor and went out the front door. He would have gone out the front door here, where he was either stopped by a newsman or a government agent of some kind, FBI, Secret Service, whatever. Oswald even mentions this in the police interrogation, saying that the agent presented a wallet, or flipped open a wallet of ID, and he said he was a government agent. Where was the nearest phone? And Oswald pointed into the direction of the school book depository. Doesn't sound like someone who's trying to escape after just shooting the president if you're helping the government and the government agent find the phone? Wouldn't you just ignore them and walk on, oh, I don't know, and then move on? Okay. Also, so that's the more likely scenario. Also, you've got Officer Craig, who said that he was standing here and trying to get across, but the officer that was supposed to be here to block the traffic had left his post, and the traffic was so bad he couldn't get across. And then, for some strange reason, he says he sees a man come down this way, go down the grassy knoll, and then a Rambler station wagon comes down, and the man gets into the Rambler station wagon way down here, because he said he went down the grassy knoll. Gets into the, here's a whistle, because he's standing here, and here's a whistle as this Rambler station wagon drives by, and then he sees a man get into the Rambler station wagon here. He says that that man was Lee Oswald, and he saw the same man in the police station later on that day. So that's very interesting. Either way, Oswald goes this way up Eckerd because he's spotted by the bus driver and several other passengers and his former landlady, and walks 10 blocks this way, okay, gets on a bus, is spotted getting on a bus at Eckerd at about 12:45, okay, so he goes all the way 10 blocks, 10 blocks I believe. Why? If you just shot the president, wouldn't you be trying to get home? So Oswald was spotted here, catching a bus at Elm and Eckerd. Now, if you look at this, over here, off of Main, I believe it would have been, yeah, it would have been right around in here, was the Carousel Club. Also, the Adolphus Hotel is literally 1 block away. There's Eckerd and Elm. 1 block away is the Adolphus Hotel. If the Adolphus Hotel is where they have the communication center, Oswald would be trying to contact them to figure out what happened. You know, I thought you guys were going to try to stop the assassination, but the assassination occurred anyway, or he'd be trying to get a hold of Ruby, because Ruby, that Carousel Club was either here or here. I'm pretty sure it was here, because if you listen to testimony of some of the strippers, they say there was a club here and a club across the street, and then they would go over and watch their shows, and then they would go across the street and watch their shows. And it was near the Adolphus Hotel. So that would have been right there. Anyway, so we'll get back to what Wesley Frazier is saying, but I don't know if he's lying, or maybe Oswald's lying. I don't know. But that would make sense if Oswald just figured out that his warnings went unheeded. He would have tried to be getting out of there and get over to see, you know, whoever his handler is, Ruby, someone in the Adolphus Hotel, maybe someone at the police station. Another thing, the police station is like right down here. So if you just shot the president, you're not going to be walking towards the police, okay? And then when he gets up here and can't find anybody, or maybe he does find someone, they tell him, go home, you know, go home and meet me at the Texas Theater, and we'll tell you what happened. And we'll get into what happened, and just go there and hide out for a little bit and get out of the way. So this does make sense, but it's not what Oswald said, and it's not what other people, like the lady who saw him with the Coke, said that he went by her office and he was carrying a Coke, and I believe her office was here on the first floor. But anyway, regardless of that, Oswald left. And again, if you just shot the president, okay, think about it. You just shot the president, okay. Let's see. There's Elm. You just shot the president. You went out the back door. Why wouldn't you just keep going up the street and then go this way? You know, go up another street. There's a couple of more streets. Go up Ross. Go up whatever this street was at the time, Pacific Avenue. You can still get up to the to Akron that way. But what does Oswald do? He goes straight up Elm. Like he doesn't have a care in the world. Doesn't make much sense, huh? All right, we'll get back to Wesley Frazier and see what else he has to say here. Hold on. But again, this is the first time he said that I've read. I've read over his statements, his affidavit to the police. I've read over his Warren Commission testimony. I've read over his testimony in the Shaw trial. And unless I missed it, this is the first time he said he saw Oswald going up the street. I might have missed it though. Like, I'm not perfect, okay? But anyway, here we go.
And so he walks up, and I'm talking to this lady. He didn't say anything. And he crosses Houston. I watch him cross Houston as I was talking to the lady. He gets over to the other side of Houston, and then he crosses Elm. And somebody said something to me, and I turned, and he was about halfway across the street. And when I turned back, he was gone in the crowd.
So again, the question I have for Wesley Frazier is, you ride the car, or, you know, twice a week with Oswald, you work with Oswald all the time, and you see Oswald, you see him come down Houston, you're obviously watching him come down Houston, you recognized him. Why wouldn't you say something to Oswald? Oh my God, Oswald, Lee, did you just hear? Somebody just shot the president. Oh really? Wow, that's interesting. No, he doesn't say anything to him. Why? He makes enough of an effort to see Oswald coming down Houston, all the way down Houston to Elm, but he doesn't make an effort to talk to him?
I don't know what happened to him, but I didn't worry too much about that because there was several places around there that you could go and eat a sandwich. And I remember asking him that morning when he was riding in with me, I said, "Where's your lunch?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to buy it off the truck today." I said, "Okay." Well, I didn't think about what he told me about buying it off the truck. He said, "I'm going to buy his lunch." He said, "I'll just buy my lunch today." And I don't like to use the word assume, but I thought he was talking about the catering truck. But it worked.
There's no doubt in your mind that this was Lee Harvey Oswald.
It was.
See, there he goes.
Could you see the expression on his face? Is there anything you can tell us about the way he looked?
There was nothing different about Lee. The expression on his face was, he looked perfectly normal.
Don't you think, this is why I'm saying this is the first time Wesley Frazier is saying this, because don't you think that if Wesley Frazier made this statement to the FBI, made this statement to the Warren Commission, made this statement at the Shaw trial, don't you think one of those groups of people would have said, "Oh, you saw, how was he dressed? Was he carrying anything?" Nobody says anything. He didn't say anything about that. So don't you think that the sheriff, the FBI, the Warren Commission, Garrison's, guys that are cross-examining him would say, well, okay, if you saw him coming down Houston, you saw him coming all the way down Houston to Elm, and you watched him go across Elm, or go across Houston and continue up Elm and then disappear, how is he dressed? Did he have a jacket on? Was he carrying anything? Why didn't you say something to him? Oh, hey Lee, somebody just shot the president. Hey Lee, where are you going? Are you going to lunch? When are you going to be back? We're probably still going to be working today, or we may not be working today. This is why I say he never says this to anybody else, because they would have, at least I would have, who knows? The logical question would be, for me, how was he dressed? Was he wearing a jacket? Was he carrying anything? Did he look disheveled? Did he look desperate? Did he look happy? Did he look mad? Did he look sad? What was the expression on his face? Was his hair messed up? And another thing you got to figure too is that, okay, there are several people, especially Brennan right here, that give a description of the man in the window. Okay? So, and they're having to look up, and they notice this guy, and they've given, and we're going to read over their statements of the man in the window. And he's got a white shirt, supposedly. Oswald's got a white shirt on, right? And his brown, white undershirt and his brown shirt over that. Don't you think some of these witnesses that are standing on these corners in here that are, you know, talking to the police, I saw this guy up in the window and he was wearing a brown shirt and he looked about 24 and all this kind of stuff and he was firing the rifle at the president. Don't you think they would have saw him cross the street here in this brown shirt with the white t-shirt underneath it and said, hey, as a matter of fact, that's the guy right there walking across Houston, going up Elm. Mr. Policeman, standing on the corner, Brendan standing on the corner here. Don't you think that now that they're looking at eye level, they would say, that's the guy right there, he's walking away, he's getting away from, he just shot the president, he's going up Elm Street, oh my God, stop him, stop him. Nobody does. Why? Or even better, if Oswald came out the front fucking door like he said, okay, these same group of people on these corners, Brennan, other people that all described a person in, and they put out a police dispatch, what, about 12 minutes, 10 minutes later, with a description of Oswald. Don't you think they would have saw Oswald come out the front door and walk up Elm and be pointing to, you know, grabbing the police going, that's the guy that was in the window, the same shirt, the same hair, da-da-da-da-da. Go get him. That's him right there. Nobody does. Don't you think they're all standing around, looking around, trying to see if the guy comes out? Don't you think that the police would secure the building, looking for that guy? You know, it doesn't take much of an effort to go from here to here and say, officer, officer, the guy I saw in the window had a brown shirt on with a white t-shirt, looked like he was about 25 years old, about 130 pounds, okay, and oh, he just walked down the steps and went up Elm Street. Or he just came down Houston Street and crossed Elm right there. Or, you know, Daniel Craig is standing right here. Brennan says he's right here. Daniel Craig sees a man, or says he sees Oswald come down, walk down the grassy knoll and get into a Nash Rambler. Why wouldn't Brennan just walk, you know, tap? He could literally reach out and tap Craig's shoulder if that's where he was at and say, hey, that guy I just described to the police and saw him in the window, he just jumped in that Nash Rambler that you saw. I mean, come on. I don't know. Craziness. Anyway, we'll keep going. See what else happens here.
And that's the last time that I remember seeing them.
You then went down to the basement and had your own lunch that day, and then there was an employee roll call. Oswald was missing, and then take us further on. I know you went to the hospital that day. Your father-in-law was sick, and he was in the hospital. And while you were
Oswald wasn't the only employee that was not accounted for.
There at the hospital, some law officials came to see you. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, when they dismissed us after the roll call, I looked at my watch and I said, well, I'll go by and say it was my stepfather. He and my mother were up visiting my sister and brother-in-law and the children. And so I said, well, I'll just stop by and see him. And this hospital in Irving was at Irving Boulevard and Pioneer. It used to be called Pioneer Medical Center or Pioneer Hospital. Excuse me. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but I know it was a medical center, and that's where he was. And I had stopped by there to see him, and I was there a short time. And one of the nurses she told me and she knows how to watch. She says, count the drops per minute there, I'll be back in just a minute. And so I was watching, counting the drops, watching my watch. And so they got a phone call, and I answered it, and so the lady says, there's some people here to see you out the front desk, wants to talk to you. And I said, well, just pass them through here to the room. I said, I'm helping the nurse on something. She says, well, I'm new, I really don't know how to do that. She says, you need to come to the nurse's station here.
And again, you got to wonder to yourself, how did they find Wesley Frazier at this hospital in Irving, and why are they coming after Wesley Frazier at this hospital in Irving? The only thing I can figure is that, this is after Oswald is caught at 150, and once Oswald is caught, they go out to Irving and go to Mrs. Payne's house. That's the logical sequence that I'm thinking. And then, talk to Mrs. Payne, and she says, well, he'd ride to work with Wesley Frazier, and then they go over to Wesley Frazier's house, and his sister would say, oh, he's at this hospital visiting my father who's in the hospital, and then they would go and find him there. That's the only logical sense that I could think. But Mrs. Payne says it was much, much later in the evening that the police showed up. So she's saying 5 or 6 o'clock. So maybe Wesley Frazier's at the hospital in Irving at 5 or 6 o'clock? Who knows?
I told her, I said, okay, I'll be there. But when I opened the door, I was met by two detectives, Detective Rose and Detective Stovall. Well, they put me up against the wall rather briskly and quickly. And I was totally shocked. I said, what's going on here? I said, what are you doing this? And they said, we're arresting you. And I said, well, why? And they told me that they would take me downtown and question me find out what I knew about the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Well, we got out to their car, and we went over to my sister's house. And at that time I had a British Enfield 303 rifle that I'd.
Another thing I would think is interesting is if you saw Oswald come around the back and go up Houston and then go up Elm right after the assassination, and then you do a roll call and Oswald supposedly is the only one that's missing at the roll call, don't you think Wesley Frazier is obligated, or maybe common sense would tell him to go up to Mr. Truly and say, or Mr. Shelley and say, well, Oswald's missing, but I saw him come around Houston and then cross Elm and go up Elm Street back into town right after the assassination. But I don't know where he's at now. Don't you think he would have said that? But didn't say anything about that, does he?
Purchase mail order now to use to hunt deer with, and then I had a double barrel shotgun.
Again, why are people ordering rifles through the mail in Texas when you could literally drive 5 minutes and find a gun shop in Irving or Dallas and just buy a gun there. Doesn't that sound strange? Anyway.
Stevens, 1891. Double barrel, had 36-inch barrels on it. It's a collector's item today. So they confiscated that, and they confiscated what rounds I had. And then we stopped by the Irving Police Department, and they talked with, I went in with them, and they talked to some sergeant in there. I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but they did this kind of it was more or less like a courtesy call. And they told him what they were doing, and so he said fine. So we got in the car, and they took me down to the police station at Harwood Street here in Dallas. And I thought I would be out of there.
Again, just to emphasize, this is the stop at Ackerd and Elm where Oswald got on the bus. And he just mentioned it. Okay, the police station is at Harwood, which is right here. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, that's the police station right there. Why would Oswald, if he just shot the president, walk 10 blocks and be within 4 blocks of the police station? That would be the last place you would go. Okay? Anyway, keep going here.
I said, I don't know what these guys want, but I said, hopefully I'll be out pretty quick. Well, how little did I know I'd be there for a very long time.
We have some film of you and your sister in the hallway. Let's take a quick look at that. It's very short, just a few seconds, but we're going to see your sister first, and then the camera's going to pause on you, Buell. And it's important to remember, you were just 19 years old when this all happened.
Yeah, so young 19.
I can imagine how frightened you must have been with all of this, all these cameras. There you are. You got your Future Farmers of America jacket on, right? And they subjected you to some pretty rigorous interrogations.
Yes.
Tell us about the technique they used when they questioned you.
Well, Detective Rose and Detective Stovall, two detectives that picked me up out of the hospital, they were the first ones to question me. And I was sitting in a chair, kind of like a little desk, made in between the wall. It was a board, it wasn't a desk. And I had to look right straight into a blank wall. And I couldn't look sideways to answer them. I had to talk into the wall. And this went on for a couple of hours. And then I guess they got thirsty and tired, and so they took a break. Well, they left, and 2 more come in and went over the same thing over and over and over. And so I said to myself, I said, what is these guys, why can't they accept what I'm telling them? And then they left, and I think another set come in, and they drilled me just like the others before. And then finally Detective Rose and Detective Stovall came back, and we had another round session. And so I asked Detective Rose, I said, I've been here a long time. I said, I'm thirsty. I said, can I have some water? And you know these styrofoam cups you see a lot of companies have, they have little styrofoam cups, they're not very large. Well, that's what I got. That's what they brought me the water in. It wasn't full. And but when I asked them, they said, well, we'll check and see if you can have some water. I said, well, I'm getting very thirsty. I said, I need some water. And they let me have the water. And we went around another round of questions for quite some time. And they had talked to Captain Will Fritz. He was head of homicide. And they tried to explain to him that this kid is telling us everything he knows. So, but Captain Will Fritz would not buy that. He would not accept that. So, they go out of the room, and in comes Captain Will Fritz, whom I'd never seen in my life, never talked to. He brought in a typed statement, and he had a pen. He says, "Here, sign this." He gave me a pen. I started reading it. Well, it wanted me to confess to being part of or having knowledge of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I read about 2 sentences of that, and I looked at him and I said, "That's ludicrous." I said, "I'm not signing that." So he drew his hand back to hit me, and I did my arm up like this, because he was over here like he was, Steve. And I told him, I said, he got very red-faced. He wasn't a real big man for his physical stature, but he had I hear he had a temper. Anyway, I told him, I said, "You know, I know this policeman outside the door." And I said, "Before they get in there, you and I are going to have a hell of a fight." And I said, I'm gonna get a good lick or 2 in on you." And I said, "You'll remember me." Well, he snatched up the paper and the pen and walked out the room, and I never did see him again, ever. But here's the thing I don't understand. I never had been in any trouble as a young boy growing up. But the way he treated me, and the way he tried to get me to sign that statement, we could never be friends.
And there you go. I mean, let me remind you that Fritz is the head of homicide there. So if he's willing to falsify a confession statement and threaten bodily harm on an individual who had nothing to do with the assassination, what else is he up to? What other things is he involved in? Okay? I mean, it tells you what kind of police department is going on there, and other people have probably been victims of that. Okay? Here's Wesley Frazier trying to cooperate, and then they're going to beat him up because he won't sign a confession that they took the time to type up a confession saying he was part of the assassination, and he knew he wasn't, and he was going to defend himself, even if it meant having to fight that policeman. So, what else is Captain Fritz involved in if he's willing to do something highly illegal like that on an innocent man? I mean, would they go as far as to plant a bag, or say there was a bag on the 6th floor when there wasn't a bag that held the rifle? Would they go as far as to put Oswald's fingerprints and palm prints as evidence on boxes and rifles and bags? Would they plant evidence? Think about it. Wesley Frazier is an innocent man, and they're trying to frame him as part of the conspiracy. What else would Captain Fritz be involved in? Alright, so that's enough for now. We're going to stop. We're going to pick this back up. We've got, what about maybe 13 minutes left of this. It's mostly Q&A, I believe. And but it's good stuff, because I've never seen or read this testimony, especially about the testimony of seeing Oswald coming up Houston, passing him, going to Elm, and going, crossing over Houston onto Elm and going straight up Elm. Because that's what Oswald did He went up Elm at least. But again, you got to figure this is the first time he's saying it, because don't you think the police, don't you think the Warren Commission, the FBI, the Dallas Police, Garrison's District Attorney Office would have asked him the logical question? Well, what was he wearing? Was he carrying anything? Did you say anything to him? Did he say anything to you? Did he see you? Did he recognize you? Was there anybody else walking with him? That's the logical questions that would come out. But anyway, either he's hiding something or he's not that bright. Or maybe he's protecting Lee. Who knows? Anyway. Alright, we'll see you tomorrow.